What if the bullet missed? What if John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, had survived that fateful day in Dallas? History changed in an instant on November 22nd, 1963. But had JFK lived, the world and America might have taken a drastically different path. JFK survives an assassination attempt. He's injured but alive. The world watches in shock and relief. Lee Harvey Oswald is captured. This time he faces trial alive. No Jack Ruby, no silence, and the American people get answers, or at least more than they did in our timeline. The Warren Commission still happens, but it's not about JFK's death. It's about protecting democracy from future threats. Conspiracies still swirl, but the truth has more room to breathe. Kennedy, scarred but defiant, returns to Washington with renewed urgency. JFK runs in 1964, not as a martyr, but as a survivor. His approval ratings skyrocket. The assassination attempt rallies the nation behind him. Lyndon B. Johnson doesn't become president, but likely remains a close political partner. Barry Goldwater still runs as the Republican nominee, but JFK crushes him in a landslide. The second Kennedy term is underway. But what does it look like? In our reality, LBJ escalated the Vietnam War under JFK. That's not guaranteed. Kennedy had expressed skepticism about deeper involvement in his second term. He may have gradually pulled out U.S. advisors, avoiding the full-scale military disaster that defined the late 60s. The Vietnam War, as we know, it might never have happened. No draft riots, no Kent State, no tens of thousands of American lives lost overseas. It's not certain, but it's likely. This is where things get more complex. LBJ pushed through the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Would JFK have done the same? Some historians say yes, but slower. Kennedy supported civil rights, but was cautious politically. Under pressure from activists like Dr. King and the growing movement, JFK likely moves forward, but not with the urgency LBJ brought. Progress still comes, but perhaps not by 1964. Maybe it's 1966, maybe later. Maybe the South resists harder without LBJ's Southern influence. The civil rights timeline shifts, delayed but not derailed. JFK's leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis showed restraint and clarity. In a second term, detente might come sooner. JFK had plans for a joint moon mission with the Soviets. Imagine that American and Soviet astronauts walking on the moon together in the 1970s. Less arms buildup, more cooperation, a thaw in the cold. We're years ahead of schedule. Cuba, still a thorn, but without full-blown invasions or constant brinkmanship, perhaps. The region stabilizes faster. JFK famously set America on course to land on the moon. With his survival, space remains a national priority. But he may have pivoted toward international collaboration, toward deeper science funding, maybe even environmental action. He'd likely be the first president to publicly support tackling pollution, science-based education reform, and early environmental policy, planting seeds that would bloom in the decades to come. The second term elevates JFK to legend status, not just because of what he said, but what he did. His brothers Bobby and Ted ride the momentum. Bobby Kennedy still runs for president in 1968, but this time as the heir to a living legend. Does he still get assassinated? Maybe not the political atmosphere. Maybe less explosive without Vietnam and civil rights riots at full boil. If Bobby lives, the Kennedys dominate American politics into the 1980s. Without JFK's assassination, the 60s feel different, less chaotic, less disillusioned. The grief that blanketed the nation in 1963 created a vacuum, a hunger for rebellion, for new voices. The counterculture, while still rising, might have felt less urgent. The Beatles still come, protests still happen, but maybe America doesn't feel as broken. The trauma that defined a generation might have been just a scare, not a scar. History is shaped by seconds. A bullet missed, a hand moved, a moment that didn't happen. Had JFK survived, the course of war, race, culture, and even space might have shifted. But history doesn't run on what ifs, it runs on what happened. Still asking, what if teaches us how fragile our reality is and how powerful one life, one moment can be. What if JFK had lived? Maybe we'd be living in a very different world.